Hello, guys. Hello, Taylor and Jeremy.
How's it
Hello,
going?
Taylor and Jeremy. Greetings from Extreminal. Could you guys please introduce yourselves? Who are you? Where did you guys grow up, etc.?
Hello, my name is Taylor. I grew up in the historic Bollesburg Village in Pennsylvania.
It's quite historic.
It's pretty much a small town in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, and then started playing music with Jeremy about 12 years ago, and I've been a Floridian for the last 6 years.
Hey, my name is Jeremy. I play drums in this band, and then also that band, and then this band. I grew up in, I was born and grew up in Michigan, and then moved to Hawaii, and then I moved to Florida when I was 9. So I've been here for most of my life. So if I look salty and sun-kissed, it's, it's because it's been a lifelong endeavor. What about you? Now introduce yourself for everybody.
We are fine. we are fine with our shit nowadays. Okay. So then on, how did you get into metal music and start to play your instruments?
I don't know, man. It's everywhere here in Florida. So when I was a young guy, I remember riding on the bus, and there was some girl in the back of the bus, and she had a shirt which I later found out was immolation, and it looked super cool. And I was like, "What are you listening to? And what do you have in your headphones?" And she's like, she was a bit older than me, so she's like, "Hey, young man, check this out. Here you go." And her boyfriend Bill was on the bus, and he played drums in a death metal band. So I kind of got started early on at death metal. Now my father raised me on like a lot of like hard rock and some more extreme stuff like Metallica, of course, Merciful Fate, of course, those things. But it kind of just got more death metal whenever I hit middle school, here in Florida.
I didn't really have a musical background. No one in my family was musical or anything like that. My older brother played drums, and I got a guitar not too long after that, so we kind of found all our influences together at once. But I had a couple of guitar teachers who gave me some CDs. Like I was into Metallica, some Metallica, and like Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin and stuff. And then I went in, and he was like, "All right, well, have you heard Ride the Lightning yet?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't heard that yet." And then of course that was mind blowing. And then he's like, "All right, well, have you heard King Crimson yet?" And I'm like, "No, not yet." And then it was Death, and then it was The Haunted, and then it was Meshuggah, and it was just like, I don't know what any of this is, but I want to do that. So, so probably around the same time, I would say 15 years old or so, I was pretty hooked into the death metal stuff.
Okay, let's start to talk about Inhuman Condition. How was Inhuman Condition born into death metal scene? How were you involved into Human Condition from Massacre?
Well, we were asked to join Massacre in September of 2019, and the guys had said, "Go ahead and start writing some new material." So Jeremy and I, being psychos, we were like, "All right, let's do it." So demoed out some songs, just like some guitar riffs, and they seemed to like the direction. So they gave us the green light. We went and wrote 14 songs for the record, and had drums and guitars all recorded
In November. So like 2 months later, we wrote everything and recorded our end, and they were like, "Whoa, we move so fast," but that's kind of how we roll. I mean, that's when he said we're crazy. We're like crazy people, and like we have music and it's in us, and we have the ability to get it out. So there you go. Yeah, so go ahead.
So we had the music pretty much written, ready to go. And then, of course, COVID hit, and all of 2020 became a bust. And long story short, we ended up having to leave the band. And we knew that they were going to have new music with new members. So we said, well, why would we let this just go to waste? So we said, well, it already sounds like Massacre. Obviously, it was intended to, sound like Massacre and be a Massacre album. So we we're like, well, let's embrace it. Why not? So we
That's-
decided to call it Inhuman Condition.
Yeah,
and
we didn't want anybody to be confused. We wanted you to be like, oh, isn't that a Massacre record? Be like, yes. Yes, it is.
used to be.
It used to be.
Could have been.
Yeah.
And the whole reason that this, this came to be, we're not trying to be like a tribute band. We were writing music for the next Massacre album. So when people are like, oh, it sounds like Massacre, it'd be like, whoa, awesome. that was the goal. That was the main goal, was to like have it come out like that. And yeah, so when we broke up with Massacre, we, whenever you have any good breakup, you like somehow the exes get together and start chatting. I've known Terry for many years, many years here in the Florida scene, going back with the Absence and stuff like that. He was actually going to play on Riders of the Plague. He was going to play bass on that record, which is our second album, came out in 2007. So at any rate, so Terry and I chatted after the split. We kind of compared notes, and it was sort of like, do you have any of these things that happened to you? And he was like, no. Did you have any of these? I had a royal flush. And he's like, oof, yeah, that's real bad, So after we compared all the notes and everything like that, I was just like, yeah, you want to hear the tunes, man? We had an entire record and a half. And he was like, yeah, fire them over. And then it was like, would you want to play bass on it by chance? He was like, hell yeah, I want to play bass. And like, we were like, well, should we just make a whole band? Like, what did we do? So we did that. We made an entire band, and there you go. Inhuman Condition is born, and we started playing some shows, and man, it really worked out for the best. It really did. It was the best outcome that could have been for this music. If you ask me, I'm much happier this way, being away from the other situation.
Okay, guys, welcome to the scene in the end.
Thank you much.
And what we've got is a total American death metal album, and it's solid, brand new album. So let's talk about how did you write it? What kind of musical motifs and touches did you focus on when you started to write Red Gods?
Well, obviously it was written to be a Massacre album, so we were trying to get back into, of course, everybody wants to be old school death metal these days, but being in an actual old school band at the time, it was like, all right, well, let's try and get back into the headspace of where the band was originally at, listening to Venom and Celtic Frost and DRI and Metallica and, all the basic, Bathory, stuff like that. Motorhead. So we tried to kind of just get back into that headspace of like the late 80s, early 90s stuff. Of course, it ended up sounding like Jeremy and I writing together, because it just always does. We played for over a decade. But it started out as just riff ideas, basic song structures, and then Jeremy and I got together and said, well, why don't we cut this bridge out, take this bridge from this song, let's change this verse riff, let's shorten this, extend this, and then we had all 12 songs like ready to roll, and we were able to jam on them and make sure they play as real songs do. So it was a pretty smooth process getting all the music parts written for the record.
Yeah, we've grown up listening to all this stuff, so it wasn't like, we didn't have to really, I don't want to say we didn't have to dig too deep, but we just had to focus in the sites. We just had to be like, okay, well, these, like he said, like these fellows were listening to this, they were influenced by that. Like, let's jump back into this headspace here for those seminal records that came out. And man, it was awesome. It was really smooth and really easy. We tracked all the drums for, it ended up being 13 songs. We tracked all the drums for 13 songs in one day. And then we went and watched a Power Trip that night. So we literally woke up in the morning, both of us drank an entire pot of coffee. We tracked 13 songs on drums, and then we went and watched Power Trip. And we were so influenced by it that it was like, dude, the drums are still set up. We need a really heavy song. So the next morning we woke up and I just played the drums only. So what later became Tyrantula was all written just by the drums first. I just played the drums. And then later on, Taylor, like the next day or the next 2 days, added wrote the guitar parts. So everything was structured by the drums first with that song. So yeah, it was pretty awesome, man. It was a cool way to do it, And then it, like, it just turned out how it turned out. So we got those 14 songs done. So there's 9 on Rat God. There's still another 5 that are sitting there, which were from these sessions. So yeah, they're we're already locked and loaded. They're already full production. So we have vocals, we have bass, we have everything. It's already all done.
They are supposed to be a new EP after the full album, maybe, huh?
Yeah, we're talking about that. We're thinking maybe an EP, or maybe we just write 4 more and release another full length, and have a, we'll see.
Okay. So actually, I'm going to ask that the process of the recording, but actually you mentioned it all. So let's talk about the reactions about the Red of Gods. How are the reactions for Red of God album from press and fans until now?
It's been pretty overwhelming, to be honest. I think we all knew that we had some strong material, once it was mixed and mastered and everything, and the artwork was all set up. We knew it was going to be a pretty cool package. I mean, we were all excited about it. But being that it was a brand new band, and being that it was also tied to the Massacre drama and ridiculous history, it was like, well,
it is a drama.
It could have exploded, or it could have totally flopped, and we had no idea which way it was going to go, but it's been totally crazy.
Incredible. It blew both of us away. We're like, it blew us away like the same way that when Dan, the artist who did the front cover art, when he sent us the artwork, we were like, oh my God. We're like, oh my God, that's so cool. So this has been the same, man. It's the reaction has been mind-blowing. I mean, we were on iTunes, we were number 1 in the Netherlands, and no, sorry, what am I? I'm wrong. Yeah, number 1 in Netherlands, and then number 3 in Chile. And it's just been crazy. It's been over the top, man. Like, to be able to chart with a baby band, we just started, and we were the number 1 selling artist on Bandcamp, and it's just so much really cool stuff happened, and metal fans really supported, and they came out and didn't give a shit that it was a new band. And, no one was sitting with arms crossed going, well, I only, most people don't even like the band until like their 4th or 5th record comes out. It was just like kind of like an instant thing, which made us feel really good and very, very well received. You have these things and they're like your babies, and you're like, here we go. I hope everybody likes it. I hope they're nice to it, and sometimes they slap your baby and you're like, well, all right.
Actually, I enjoyed your album a lot. It's pretty solid, man. Actually, you have been around for years, both of you guys. So I don't believe that people will have you like a new kid on the block.
Yeah.
Like an adopted kid.
Yeah, we're like a
maybe adopted kid. Okay, guys. So how did you release this album? What could you tell us about the listenable Insanity Records? How is the distribution? And could you guys tell us what things you are doing about this album right now?
Well, we actually had a couple offers from some bigger labels that were interested in releasing it, because we had just put a teaser out just to kind of announce the band.
I remember
and then we kind of just decided, let's just do everything ourselves. I mean, we already had taken ownership of the music and secured the publishing and all that, like, nerdy, boring stuff. And then we're like, well, we had the artwork ready to go. Everything was self-financed up to that point anyway. And we had recorded, and, we're going to mix everything ourselves. So we said, well, let's just release it ourselves and see how it goes. And, let's say it totally flops, and then 6 months down the road, some label wants to put it out. Well, we own it, so we could do whatever we want with it. So we Listenable Insanity is actually Jeremy and I's label that we started 6 years ago, just kind of as a joke to release our own ridiculous side projects. And then we're like, well, it's not just going to be, released just on its own. So we just decided to slap our label on it. And then here we are. Ended up doing a bunch of licensing deals, a bunch of labels across the world. So
yeah, it really worked out, man. It really has worked out. Japan, Germany, Mexico, Brazil, Malaysia, all over the world has been is releasing, Rat God, which, again, you're like, I hope they like my kid. And then everybody really likes your kid. And you're like, oh my God. So our next step is get out there and start playing the material more. Like we did like basically like one of the first shows back in the pandemic. And that was with Deicide. And that show sold out in less than 2 minutes. Now, that sounds crazy. It wasn't like Madison Square Garden or anything like that. It was a very small venue, but it did sell out quickly. And the vibe there was amazing. So it was great to like play. And we had our really good friend, Rustin from Master. He's the drummer for Master. He filled in on that first show. And then we just played another show with Gruesome here in Tampa. Like that was last weekend. That was amazing. We had our other buddy, Lee Harrison, play drums with us. So that was it was pretty cool. You know, we've been able to like just keep some shows going. And then coming up in September, we have a tour that we booked. You know, we did everything in-house. So we did all the recording in-house. We did all the, like he said, all the label stuff in-house. My wife does all the photography.
This is the shipping area back here.
Yeah, this is our HQ back there.
I got CDs and box sets and tapes and all that stuff.
So, you know, we just do it all ourselves. So we booked the tour through a good friend of ours here. She is a local agent around the New Jersey area, and she's never done any kind of like tour booking. So this is her first go round, and we just threw an entire pro tour together, which is amazing. So it's just all kind of like the synchronicity as it's all just happening. So the next step is get out there and play some music, you know, and meet more people and hang out with these folks. And when we come over to see you, we can hang out with you and meet you. That'd be great, man. So it's just it's lovely. It's a lovely process.
So everything is fine for your record company and sales are good, as far as I understand.
Oh yeah.
So both you guys are pretty active in the extreme metal music scene, actually, and I cannot list anything here because it's a long list. But can you guys talk and give information about your other bands which are still pretty active right now?
Yeah, well, we have one band called Gorgang, which is just the two of us.
Yeah.
I actually play drums in that. He sings, and then we split the guitar duties.
It's like a sort of like a sweet death kind of
grave worship.
Kind of grave worship type deal.
Edge of Sanity-ish.
Yeah.
So we put out our third release, which was an EP back in April. It was another self-released album that had a handful of new songs. It had a White Zombie cover and some live songs on it. And then in
June 25th,
yes,
the new Absence record came out, and that was on M Theory Audio. And that's amazing. That one came out great. We did that whole production ourselves as well. We had hired this guy Chad World to do the artwork, and he's done work with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Like so he does like pencil drawings that are like says a lot with just some graphite. So it's pretty sweet. And then what else? We have a punk band called Four, and that's like kind of like skate punk style. So like No Effects, Lagwagon, Pennywise, Bad Religion, like that era of like California skate punk shit that came out in like the late 80s, early 90s. We're big fans of that. No one's really doing that. So we're like, we need a damn punk band, you know?
And then we also had a record come out June 18th. The band was called Eye of Purgatory. And that came out on Transcending Obscurity in India. And that is myself on drums. Jeremy played bass on that. I played keyboards. And then our buddy Raga Johansson, who is in Paganizer and is actually in Massacre now.
Yeah.
And also Rib Spreader, another one of our bands. So we put that album out in end of June as well. So it's been kind of a whirlwind of releases,
pretty busy,
thankfully.
Yeah. Just list them all. We'll stop talking and then just list them.
10-minute video.
Going on, it's going on like that. Okay, Taylor, I interviewed with Paul 2 months ago, and Paul said that you play with him in his project called Umbilicus. How's it going on?
What about it? We haven't really like publicly announced it or anything yet. Of course, I know he's brought it up in some interviews he's done with Cannibal. It's going awesome. I've been jamming with him. It's been about a year now, actually. I play guitar. I get to play a Stratocaster, which is pretty cool, like an old guy guitar.
Fully hard rock, huh?
Yeah, it's great, man. It's like 70s rock, hard rock kind of. There's some Sabbath, there's some Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, Aerosmith, Zeppelin. Simple stuff, no blast beats, no crazy shred dive bomb solos. So it's been a absolute pleasure to play that kind of music, and then obviously playing with Paul, who's probably the nicest person in extreme music.
Yeah, he's up there, man. It's like Paul, Terry Butler, Alex Webster, Jeff Loomis. Like, I mean, there's a few guys out there who are just like some of the best dudes ever. Paul is definitely one of them. Yeah, Paul's definitely one of them. Good guy.
And he actually wrote the lyrics for Killing Pace on Rap God.
Yeah,
so that was
back vocals.
Yeah, it's so much fun. So it's like, it allows me to be able to sing like Cannibal Corpse, which get out of here. How amazing is that? It's so much fun. So much fun.
So yeah, we're finishing up that record. Our vocalist is demoing his tracks out now. So we're pretty much just, I mean, of course, the pandemic has sort of delayed things.
Oh yeah,
for everybody, no doubt. But
yeah, we were gonna have our singer fly down. He's from it's the same guy. So the guy who sings in our punk band, he's gonna sing in Umbilicus as well. He was gonna fly down from Canada. So we booked his flight. We got a good deal on the flight. But get this, he could come here as long as he took a COVID test within 3 days of flying, no problem. But when he went back to Canada, he was going to have to pay like $500 a night in a hotel room. And then he had to quarantine for 14 days where he couldn't go to work, and he just had to stay home. And it was like, okay, that's why those flights were so cheap. So then we had to cancel the flight and put the brakes to it, until Canada opens up a bit more, which, I mean, rightly so. Everyone's being careful and taking precautions. So, I mean, what do you do?
Okay, guys. So you all guys are in the absence. Actually, you mentioned that band when you talk about the project. But how is that band going on right now? What about the absence? Do we should we expect a new album from you?
Yeah, we just put the Coffinized album out, 25th of June.
Yep. So that's out now.
So that's out. That's the band's fifth album. It's the second one I've done with the band. And it's pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, that's a good one. So if you like melodic death metal, pick that guy up, because it's got a little bit of a juicy nuggets all over it that everybody will like, whether you're an At the Gates fan or a Haunted fan, or, hell, even Testament, because it's got some, or Anthrax, it's got some vibes in there all around. It's pretty cool.
Okay, Jeremy, actually, you are also the drummer of the Venom, actually.
Yep.
And, do we have any update from Venom nowadays?
Yeah, new music very, very soon. The pandemic screwed everything up. I actually tracked the drums for that, for the new record over a year ago. So my stuff's been done for a while, but the pandemic made it really, really difficult for Demolition Man and Mantis to get together. They were separated between the UK and Portugal. So they could not get together at all. So like when one opened, the other one locked down, and then vice versa. So it went that way for quite a while. But there is movement in the camp, and very soon new music will be into everybody's ear holes. Soon enough here.
Actually, you played with Venom in Izmir, Turkey. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
2018, yeah. So actually, Izmir is my hometown. And how was the concerts? What things do you remember from that show?
Really good food next door.
I was there as the band's tech.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was really cool. We played. Man, it was great. The cops end up coming, and they shut the show off. They were like, "You guys can't play anymore. The cops are here." And Demolition Man's like, but we still had some music to play, right? And he's like, Kling, go for it, you know. So I just started playing In League with Satan. So and it was just me playing. There was no they pulled the plug on all the sounds. So then it was just the crowd singing that song. It was pretty amazing. So it was just drums and the crowd. So it was pretty wild, man. It was a good show. It was a good time. And I think we had like sandwiches at the hotel later, like regular sandwiches. I was so hungry and everything was closed. And they had brought us some like, I was thankful to have some sandwiches.
Turkish food is amazing, man. Turkish food is okay.
Yeah, the food we had earlier on in the day was amazing. We went to a restaurant next door. That's what I was saying, and it was really good.
Good cappuccino.
Yeah. Good Turkish coffee there. It was, you know, we were all peppy for the show, you know.
I remember on the flight there, we all had our own row, so we were able to sleep in the plane. That was nice. That never happens.
Yeah, it's good times.
Could you tell me how Jeremy became a frontman of the band? When did you discover your vocal skills, Jeremy?
I've done vocals for a while. So even back on like the first Absence record, I did backing vocals on like From Your Grave. I did vocals there, and you know, some other select few places. You know, I grew up listening to Deicide and Cannibal Corpse and singing along to that stuff, or well, singing along to that stuff. And then I sing in this band, that band Gorgang that we have. And Taylor was funny. He was like, man, we're talking about singers for Inhuman Condition. He was like, oh, what if we got this guy? And Taylor's like, well, you should probably just sing. You have one of my favorite voices in death metal. And I was like, oh, stop. I was like, really? He's like, okay. I was like, I don't know, maybe let's think about it. Let's keep our options open. Cause you know, what if Dave Vincent, what if we were just saying a bunch of names and we're just talking. So like a week would go by and I'm like, what about, so-and-so? And Taylor's like, yeah, that'd be good. Maybe you should probably just sing though. So it should just be you. And then we don't have to deal with anybody else. You know, not that we would really have to deal with anybody, but we don't have to deal with anybody else's schedule. We don't have to do any of that others. We don't have to wait on them to record. And I'm like, yeah, good point. Okay. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm like, well, what about this guy? He's like, yeah, you should still do it. You should do it. Not any other guy. And I'm like, all right, come on, take me to jail. Let's go.
So you became a frontman of the Inhuman Condition.
I was like, let's do it. So we just decided to go.
Actually, I enjoyed your vocals. I liked your vocal skill. It's pretty solid. It's good, actually. I didn't figure out that you also sing in that band. Actually, in that band for me at that time,
okay.
And I discovered that from the emails. I'm a
awesome.
But I found your vocals is pretty fine. Actually, then I figured out, checked who is the vocalist, and figured out that you are the vocalist. And actually, it's a good job. It means because I listen to shitload of bands every day. You know.
Yeah.
You didn't want to see my email box, okay?
Man,
so
thank you.
I listen to a lot of bands every day, so your vocal it's pretty solid, man. Actually, I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, so
he was the reason that it happened. So
okay, so Taylor is the
he gets all the credit.
Operation. Okay, let's talk about the Terry Butler again. You know, he's a legend in the scene. How did you cooperate with Terry Butler? Can you talk about it again?
Well, yeah, Jeremy and him, well, actually, all three of us had kind of been chatting after we split with Massacre. Mm-hmm. Just like you said, kind of comparing notes and, sorry that happened to you and, whatever. And once he said that he was going to do the bass for the record, it was kind of like, anytime we talked, we were just like buddies already. And he was super gung-ho about the music. And he had to do, I think, 3 or 4 different Obituary sets last year. They did some live streams. And so he was tied up for that until basically the end of the year. But in, I guess, early this year, like January, I think he came and did all his bass for the record. Came totally prepped.
What year is it now?
Is he a full-time member right now?
Yep. Yeah, he was. He's a full-time.
Yeah, he was instantly in. And we were like, well, because we didn't know what we wanted to do with this. We didn't know how far And then it was like, well, do we treat this like a real band? You know, do we want to treat it like a real band? And we have, you know, everything's been evenly split, you know, any cost up until the band started being self-sufficient was all split amongst us members, and any of like the decisions, we treat everything like a democracy, like a band, and everything goes to like votes and everyone's aware. And man, I'm in a lot of bands and I deal with a lot of different folks, and Terry is one of the easiest guys next to Taylor to deal with in a band. He's really great. You know, Terry could have an ego the size of you know, the Empire State Building, or the you know, anything really, the Eiffel Tower. It could be that big, and he just doesn't have that at all, man. He's like the nicest, most humble dude ever, and he's happy to be where he's at. He's happy to be playing death metal, and that's not like a bullshit statement. I mean, he just really enjoys and loves music, which is a pleasure and a treat to be in a band with anybody who enjoys music on that level, because not everybody is in it to play music and for the enjoyment of it, you know. We'll get done practicing, and then we're, you know, idiots, so all we talk about is music. But Terry is just as much of a fan too, so he's like, oh, have you guys heard this Ian Gillan album? And we're like, oh, actually I haven't heard that one. Have you heard this? Oh, let's check it out. Yeah, we'll sit and talk shit for a while and then go back to rehearsal and go rehearse again, and it's great, man. It's just a really good vibe, which is cool. It's really cool, you know. No ego is there, none at all, as a matter of fact. You know, none.
Okay. How do you consider your evolution in playing instruments as pro musicians, you know, from past until now?
Hopefully it's progressed.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's better. I mean,
I think probably just a wider influence. I mean, obviously there's new bands that come out every single day, and
there's also old bands that you never even knew existed. Like, we've been on a big vinyl collecting kick. I think everybody is, but especially over here in the States. But I randomly saw a Cozy Powell record, and I'm like, oh, this might be cool. You know, I brought it home, and then I started going into like all of Cozy's history. I mean, I'm familiar with some of his bodies of work, but like I had no idea what that dude did. So in the past 2 years, I became like a huge Cozy Powell fan, where, I mean, I liked what he did, but I never was like, oh my God, I didn't search stuff out because it had him on it, you know. So new influences come from everywhere. And then,
yeah, hopefully, I feel like we're probably smarter about our playing. I know when I was,
no, we're definitely dumber. We're definitely dumber.
I remember earlier in, at least in my career, I was trying to play stuff that was, you know, beyond, I think everybody does. You get to a point where you're like, oh, I could do that. And then you try to play way over your capabilities. And I think now I feel like we've settled into like I don't want to say a comfort zone, but
it's not comfortable.
Realistic zone, I guess.
It's still difficult. Yeah.
I guess we write more for us than for outside influence. I think that's different for me anyway.
That's pretty accurate. We write more for what the music needs, you know. So like the punk band needs a certain aesthetic to come with it, and this Massacre stuff, which became Inhuman Condition, needed a certain aesthetic, which is wholeheartedly different from the Absence. The Absence is like over here, you know, so this is a totally different aesthetic. And Taylor and I are pretty decent at jumping in between those vibes, you know, not because we're like posers and are just trying to do all this different stuff. We just have like such a big library of influence and creative output. I mean, I don't know. I'm not just a black t-shirt and, you know, a hat, you know. I'm much more than that. You know, neither is Taylor. I mean, one of his favorite bands ever is Aerosmith. So what do you do with that? Where you're like, you know, you're playing like brutal death metal, but you like really love Joe Perry riffs, you know, or Joey Kramer drum beats, you know. What do you just never play that because, you know, my spike gauntlets say I can't play that, you know? So we like to venture out. So I guess that would be more comfortable. It's hard to play. All of it's hard to play. I tell my wife this all the time. I'm like, it's so hard to play drums. I'm like, it's still difficult. I'm 38. I've played professionally now for almost 20 years, you know, and it's just difficult. It's just difficult. It's fun though. What else would we be doing?
It's not an easy thing to do.
No. Some people are like, yeah, it's like super easy. I'm like, I'm like, not me, man. I'm over there sweating. Yeah.
Okay. Can you give any advice for the new kids around, or the other musicians, for the other musicians? What brands of instruments do you play? Could you give any advice about guitars and the drums? About the
I
brands
personally,
or the
I
things you
personally
use.
play
Sorry.
Jackson guitars
Mhm.
and Marshall amps, but that is by no means what is best. I think people that are brand snobs are absolute idiots, and that's embarrassing. It's all on what you think is good. I mean, some of my guitars are $200 guitars, and I prefer them over a $3,000 guitar. Or the one amp I have, I paid $75 for it, and I used it on so many records in the last 2 years, and most people would scoff at it. So I would say, do your own thing.
Yeah, whatever works.
Stay on your own path.
Yep.
Do what makes you happy.
Yeah, no matter what. I mean, above all, just play music, man. It's great. There's plenty of shine out there for everybody. Just do your thing. Heck yeah. And we need to be replaced at some point. So
Start learning our set.
Start learning the set. You can take over, and we'll keep it going. Hopefully the torch keeps going for many, many years to come. That's something that I noticed about these past 2 shows we played, because we were without shows for a year, some of us a year and a half, and man, the look on people's face and like the reaction from everybody is like, it's something unlike I haven't seen anything like it. I mean, maybe when I first started playing in the scene in the early stages, but even still, it wasn't like this. Like, it has a different feel. I think everybody, had to have lost everything to appreciate what they had, so it would be great if all metalheads, like if we stopped subdividing, and I mean, it'd be great if like a Bathory fan or a Behemoth fan was also a fan of like the people who liked Disturbed, and like everybody just supported and everybody just came together as a community. We would actually grow our garden a lot bigger than what it is. We would, instead of going like, well, no, this is, the Behemoth is separate from Slipknot is separate from all these people are like separate. Everything should just be together and everybody should just support. I mean, even if it's not necessarily your favorite, like I don't really love a whole lot of power metal. I like some of it, but it's all right. If a power metal band is playing and you go watch them, then cool, man. Hell yeah. Rock and roll. Here's $5. Here you go. I'll take a sticker. Why not? I mean, it
Like the
helps
80s.
support. Yeah. I mean, it just helps.
In the beginning of the 90s, when I have been growing up in Izmir, I listened to everything from power metal to death metal, from death metal to hard rock stuff, or grindcore or crust, or punk guys are out there. So we were together at this shit together.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we have, and when we lost it all, because we did lose it all, it'd be nice if we could just, especially here in the States, if we could just get together, Come on, metalheads. Like, I mean, here's a prime example of, I know that technology exists because I've been on a few of those 70,000 tons of metal. There are so many different bands on there, so many different styles of bands. And guess what? Everybody supports and everybody cares and everybody walks around and everybody gets along. And the grindcore nerds are buddies with the black metal nerds, and they're all drinking over here with the tankard fans. And then, everybody's together in one. I mean, that's the way it should be. It should be like that. And then our industry would grow more, which is ultimately, that's what everybody wants. I think everybody wants new music. Everybody wants longevity in it. So I don't know. I know I sound a bit like a hippie, but whatever.
Actually, it's sometimes I see my surrounding, the new metal kids around. They actually listen to only the things what they like. They are not the genre worshippers, as far as I see. Actually, new generation is a little different from us in that.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, we just played, like I said, that show with Gruesome, and there was a lot of young kids there, like a lot of young kids.
It was awesome.
It was really awesome. There was this young fella. I mean, he couldn't have been any more than like 10 or 11, and he had a battle vest, and he came up to our table, and I think he bought a pen.
I think he got a pin.
Yeah, he bought a pen, and then my wife gave him a patch, an Inhuman Condition patch, and he was like, he like blew his mind. You know, he went over to his parents, who were like, "Oh my God, they gave me a patch." He was so stoked. You know what I'm saying? And that little dude was front row, stage right in front of Terry Parks, like friggin' headbanging. He had bought a set of leather gauntlets. I mean, the kid looked cooler than I did. I looked like a dingus, and he's up there looking all cool, you know. And it was a really nice vibe. You know, there's a lot of young kids there, 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds. So, and metal is very much alive, which is awesome to see. Very awesome to see.
Appreciated that. Okay, guys, what are you thinking ahead for Inhuman Condition? What are your plans for future? You know, this COVID stuff is really tough, but let's forget about it. And if the things are really fine and will be fine, what are you going to do? What are your plans?
Well, we have the 5 other songs already done as far as new material. So, like you said, could be an EP, or we might just do another full length. You know, we haven't super discussed that yet because the Rat God just came out, but we'll probably start that pretty soon. We have this tour in September, which is our first tour. We have some hopeful dates in Europe early next year, and some other worldly dates, hopefully, that will go through. And basically, just as long as all our schedules between Venom and Obituary and everything, if there's time to play, we're totally down to play wherever, whenever, with whoever. So hopefully you'll see us a lot next year.
Okay. So Jeremy?
Yeah, what he said.
Okay, same. Totally same. Okay, guys.
Okay. Yeah, plus one.
Okay. Thanks a lot for your precious time in this hot summer day. And Taylor and Jeremy, what would you like to tell your fans and extreme music fans out there?
Thanks for listening, and thank you for supporting death metal this far into the game. It's amazing. I mean, it still moves me the same way it does when I was younger. So if this moves you at all, awesome. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you at some point somewhere.
Have a good time.
All the time.